The Elysians never knew war. Their tall, shiny bodies grew up on a peaceful world. They had no idea what fighting even was, so when they got a message from their far-away colony on Helios 9, they didn't know what to do. "The Void Rippers have broken through our walls," the message said. "People are dying. We need soldiers now." Director Kim's hands shook as she stood in front of the Council of Elders. Her skin was so thin you could almost see through it. "We tried talking to them," she said. "The Void Rippers won't stop attacking." Elder Park spoke quietly, but everyone heard him. "Did you find anyone who can help us?" "Yes," Director Kim said. "There's a species called humans. They don't look dangerous, but they know how to fight very well." She showed them a picture of Earth floating in space. Elder Park nodded. "Contact them. Give them whatever they want in return." 3 days passed. Captain Lee stood in a room on Earth, looking at a see-through image of an Elysian. The alien was telling her about people being killed 20 light years away. "Why ask us for help?" Captain Lee asked. The Elysian's words came through a translator. "Our records say your kind is surprisingly deadly. We need that deadliness right now." Captain Lee's face stayed calm, but her eyes showed something else. "I'll get my people ready." On the Elysian ship, Captain Lee watched her team prepare. There were 12 of them, the best fighters Earth had. They checked their weapons and studied everything they knew about the Void Rippers. The Elysians watched with wide eyes. They had never seen beings trained for battle before. The humans moved in ways that seemed impossible. They practiced fighting, shooting, and healing wounds. "How can they be so small yet so dangerous?" an Elysian scientist asked. "They evolved on a world full of dangers," Director Kim said. "They had to become deadly to survive." Captain Lee gathered her team for a final meeting. "These aliens have never fought a war before. They don't understand what we do, but they need us. The Void Rippers are killing whole families." Sergeant Jin checked his gun. "How many enemies are we facing?" "Thousands," Captain Lee said. "Maybe more." Dr. Yu looked up from her medical supplies. "And how many of us are going in?" 12, Captain Lee said. The room was quiet for a moment. Private Boss smiled. "Good. They'll never see us coming." The Elysian ship moved faster than any human vessel could. It crossed the stars in days instead of years. As they got closer to Helios 9, they could see the damage. Half the colony was destroyed. Fires burned across the planet's surface. From orbit, they could see the Void Rippers. They looked like giant insects with hard shells and sharp claws. They moved in perfect groups, like they all shared one mind. Director Kim pointed to a map. "The main colony is here. There are still about 3,000 Elysians alive, but they won't last long." Captain Lee studied the map. "We'll go in small teams. Hit them from different sides. Rescue the Elysians and bring them to pickup points." The Elysians looked confused. "But there are only 12 of you." Captain Lee checked her weapons. "That's all we need." They landed in the dark. No lights, no sound. The human team moved through the ruins like shadows. Each person knew exactly what to do. Sergeant Jin set traps along the main roads. Corporal Kang climbed to high places with her rifle. Dr. Yu prepared a safe place for the wounded. Captain Lee led the first rescue team into a burning building. Inside, they found Elysian families hiding in fear. The tall aliens stared at the small humans with their weapons. "We're here to help," Captain Lee said simply. "Follow us if you want to live." An Elysian child looked up at her. "Are you really going to fight the monsters?" Captain Lee knelt down. "Yes, that's why we came." The first Void Rippers they met died silently. Corporal Kang's shots were perfect. But soon, the aliens knew something was wrong. They started searching everywhere. The humans used this against them. They made noises in one place, then attacked from another. They set traps and changed plans quickly. The Void Rippers had never faced an enemy like this. By the third day, the humans had rescued over 200 Elysians. But the Void Rippers were learning. They started blocking escape routes and jamming radio signals. Captain Lee's team was trapped in a large building with 30 Elysians. Void Rippers surrounded them on all sides. "What do we do now?" an Elysian asked, shaking with fear. Captain Lee looked at her team. They were tired. Some were hurt, but none showed fear. "We do what humans have always done," she said. "We find a way." She turned to Private Baugh. "I need a distraction. Something big." Private Baugh grinned. "How big?" "The biggest you've got." 10 minutes later, an explosion shook the whole colony. As the Void Rippers turned toward the sound, Captain Lee led her group out the back way. When they reached the pickup point, Director Kim was waiting. "How did you do that? How can 12 beings fight thousands?" Captain Lee watched as her team helped the injured Elysians into the ship. "We're not just deadly because we can fight. We're deadly because we refuse to give up." As the ship lifted off, they could see more Void Rippers coming toward the colony. There were still many Elysians trapped down there. Captain Lee looked at her tired team. "We're going back down." "There are too many," Director Kim said. Captain Lee checked her weapon. "Maybe. But those people need us, and humans never leave people behind." The Elysians watched in wonder as the 12 humans prepared to face an army again. Now they understood why humans were called the deadliest species. It wasn't their weapons or their strength. It was their will. Captain Lee stood in front of the 12 best fighters from Earth. The room was cold and quiet. These were not ordinary soldiers. Each one was special in their own way. Sergeant Min could build or break anything. His hands could turn simple things into weapons or turn weapons into nothing. Corporal Sun knew how to talk to any machine. She could make enemy computers tell their secrets. Private Kang moved like a ghost. No one could hear him or see him until it was too late. Dr. Ju could keep people alive when they should have died. Her medical bag held miracles. The others were just as special. Snipers who never missed. Fighters who could take down enemies twice their size. Each one had survived battles that should have killed them. Captain Lee looked at them one by one. "This mission is not official. The Alliance did not send us. If we die out there, no one will come for us." The room stayed quiet. These people knew about risk. "So, why are we going?" asked Sergeant Min. His fingers played with a small wire, bending it into shapes without him looking. Captain Lee touched a button. The wall lit up with pictures. The humans saw tall, thin aliens with skin that seemed to glow. They were being pushed by giant bug-like creatures with hard shells and too many legs. "These are the Elysians," Captain Lee said. "They never had wars. They don't know how to fight. The things attacking them are called Void Rippers." Private June leaned forward. "What are those buildings they're pushing them into?" "Death camps," Captain Lee said simply. "The Void Rippers don't just kill. They take their time." The room got even quieter. "The Elysians will give us faster-than-light travel technology if we help," Captain Lee continued. "But that's not why I picked you." She zoomed in on one picture. It showed small Elysian children being separated from their parents. Corporal Sun's face hardened. "When do we leave?" "1 hour," Captain Lee said. "Pack light. Move fast." As they filed out, Captain Lee stopped Dr. Ju. "This won't be like our other missions. These aliens don't heal like we do. Study these." She handed her a data pad with Elysian medical information. Dr. Ju nodded. "I'll be ready." On the Elysian ship, the humans trained hard. They practiced fighting in the ship's large empty rooms. They studied maps of the colony. They tested the new weapons the Elysians gave them. An Elysian named Hello watched them with wide eyes. He had never seen beings move like this. The humans fought each other in practice, moving so fast his eyes could barely follow. "Why do they hurt each other?" he asked Director Kim. "They are not hurting each other," she explained. "They are preparing. There is a difference." "But I saw blood," Tallow said, pointing to Private Kang's cut lip. "They must know pain to fight through it," Director Kim said. "They must know fear to master it." Private Kang saw them talking and walked over, still breathing hard from the fight. Is something wrong? Talos stepped back. Even though he was much taller than the human, something about Private Kang made him nervous. He does not understand your training, Director Kim explained. Private Kang smiled. The cut on his lip made it look strange. Fighting is like swimming. You can't learn it from a book. You have to feel it. But you hurt your friend, Talos said. Minor pain now prevents major pain later, Private Kang said. In real battle, everything happens too fast. Your body must know what to do without thinking. Later that night, Talos found Captain Lee looking at the stars through a window. The human ship was following them, small against the blackness of space. Your people are strange to us, Talos said. Captain Lee didn't turn from the window. We're strange to ourselves sometimes. Will you really fight thousands of Void Rippers to save people you've never met? Now she turned to look at him. Yes. Why? Captain Lee thought for a moment. Because we can. Because no one else will. Because your children don't deserve to die. The Void Rippers are much bigger than you, Talos said. Their skin is hard as metal. Captain Lee smiled. It reminded Talos of Private Kang's smile. Not happy, but something else. Humans have been killing things bigger and stronger than us since we climbed down from the trees. It's what we do. The day before they reached the colony, Captain Lee gathered her team one last time. They sat in a circle, checking their weapons and gear. The Elysians think we're crazy, she told them. They don't understand why we would risk our lives for strangers. Sergeant Min laughed. They should meet my grandmother. She would fight a bear to protect a stranger's child. Humans are weird that way, Corporal Sun agreed. We'll let a friend die in a movie without crying, but we'll jump into a river to save a drowning dog we've never met. Captain Lee nodded. The Elysians have never had to fight for survival. They never needed to protect each other from danger. They don't understand what that does to a species. Makes us deadly, Private Kang said quietly. Yes, Captain Lee agreed. But it also makes us care in a way they don't understand. We know the cost of violence. We know what it means to lose people. Dr. Ju looked up from her medical supplies. So we protect those who can't protect themselves. Exactly, Captain Lee said. Now get some sleep. Tomorrow we show the Void Rippers what humans can do when we decide to protect something. As they broke up, Talos watched from the doorway. He still didn't understand these small, soft creatures with their hard eyes and ready hands. But for the first time since the attack began, he felt something new. Hope. The ship moved through space faster than any human had ever traveled before. The stars outside looked like lines instead of points of light. Inside, 12 humans got ready for war. The main room had been turned into a planning area. Pictures of bug-like creatures filled the walls. Captain Lee stood in the middle, looking at a 3D map of the colony they were going to save. Tell me everything about these Void Rippers, she said. Lieutenant Song stepped forward. He was the team's expert on alien life. Before joining the military, he had studied strange creatures on many worlds. They think as one, Song said, pointing to the image of a Void Ripper. It looked like a mix between a beetle and a scorpion, with a hard shell and too many legs. When one sees something, they all know it. When one dies, they all feel it. Private Du frowned. So they all know we're coming. Yes and no, Song said. They know something killed their scouts, but they won't understand what until they see us. They've never met humans before. What about their bodies? Asked Dr. Ju. How do we kill them? Song touched the screen, and the image zoomed in. Their shells are hard, like armor. Regular bullets might not go through. But they have weak spots here, here, and here. He pointed to places where the shell sections met. They don't use radios or computers to talk, he continued. They use smells and sounds too low for us to hear. Captain Lee thought about this. So they can't be hacked, but maybe they can be confused. She looked at Corporal Sun. Can you make something that copies their smells or sounds? Sun nodded slowly. Maybe. If I get a sample. You will, Captain Lee promised. The team broke into smaller groups. Some worked on weapons. Others studied maps of the colony. Dr. Ju sat alone, reading about Elysian bodies. Captain Lee walked over to her. What have you found? Dr. Ju looked worried. These people are not made for war. Their skin tears easily. They lose blood quickly. Their hearts can stop from fear alone. Can you help them? I'll try, Dr. Ju said. But we need to get to them fast. Days passed. The ship got closer to Helios 9. The team trained harder. They slept less. Private Kang couldn't sleep at all. Captain Lee found him in the weapon room, taking apart and putting together his gun over and over. Nervous? She asked. Kang shook his head. Excited. Captain Lee sat next to him. Why did you join this mission? Kang's hands kept moving, cleaning gun parts without looking at them. My grandmother was from a small village. When the resource wars started, soldiers came. They took everything. Killed everyone who fought back. He finally looked up. No one came to help them. Captain Lee nodded. She didn't need to ask more. The day before they reached the colony, Director Kim called them together. The tall Elysian looked tired. Her skin, which usually glowed, seemed dim. I have news, she said. The Void Rippers have surrounded the last city center. Our people have maybe 2 days before the shields fail. Sergeant Min checked his explosives. Then we go in hot. No, Captain Lee said. We go in quiet. They don't know what humans can do. That's our only advantage. That night, the humans gathered for a final meal together. They ate the strange Elysian food and told stories of other battles, other rescues. Corporal Sun had saved a mining colony from pirates. Private Du had protected a science team on a jungle planet. Lieutenant Song had once talked an alien killer into surrendering just by understanding its language. What about you, Captain? Asked Private June. What was your hardest mission? Captain Lee was quiet for a moment. This one, she finally said, because we haven't done it yet. Later, alone in her room, Captain Lee looked at pictures of the colony. She marked places for her team to land, where they would meet, how they would attack. She planned and replanned until her eyes burned. A soft knock made her look up. Talos stood in the doorway. May I ask you something? The Elysian said. Captain Lee nodded. Our scientists say you will probably die. The odds are very bad. Talos' voice shook. Why do you still go? Captain Lee thought about Kang's grandmother, about Sun's mining colony, about all the times humans had fought when they should have run. Because if we don't, who will? She finally said. Because your people need help, and we can give it. It's that simple. It is not simple to die for strangers, Talos said. It is for humans, Captain Lee replied. The next morning, they reached Helios 9. The planet filled the view screen, blue and green like Earth, but with 3 small moons. They could see fires burning on the surface. They could see the Void Ripper ships surrounding the main city. The team gathered in the launch bay. They wore their battle gear and carried their weapons. Their faces were calm. Sergeant Min looked at the screen showing the planet. He whistled softly. There must be thousands of them down there. Captain Lee checked her gun one last time. She looked at her team, these deadly humans who had come so far to fight for strangers. Then it's a fair fight, she said with a small smile. For them. The doors opened, and the darkness of space waited for them. 12 humans against an army. But anyone who knew humans would know. The army was in trouble. The small ships landed in different parts of the colony. No lights. No sound. The humans slipped out into the darkness. They moved through the ruined buildings like shadows. Captain Lee touched her ear, activating her comm. Team 1, go to the hospital. Team 2, with me to the houses. Team 3, secure a way out. Her voice was calm, like she was ordering coffee instead of starting a battle against thousands of alien killers. Sergeant Min moved alone through the streets. His job was to find Void Ripper patrols and eliminate them quietly. He carried no gun. Guns made noise. He had only a long knife and small explosives. The first Void Ripper patrol came around a corner. 3 of the bug-like aliens clicked and hissed to each other. They didn't see Min pressed against a wall, hardly breathing. They walked past him. Min moved. The first Void Ripper died before it knew Min was there. The second turned, but too slowly. The third raised its claw weapon, but Min was already too close. His knife found the weak spot between its armor plates. Across the colony, the other humans were just as deadly. Lieutenant Song set traps using parts from broken machines. Private Kang moved between buildings unseen, marking safe paths with small lights only humans could spot. Captain Lee led her team through the residential area. They found elisions hiding in basements, in closets, under beds. The tall aliens shook with fear when the humans found them. "We're here to help," Lee told each group. "Follow us if you want to live." At first, the elisions were too afraid to move. The Void Rippers killed anyone who tried to escape. But when they saw how the humans moved, how they killed the bug-like aliens without making a sound, they began to hope. An Elysian named Nari watched Captain Lee kill 2 Void Rippers with quick shots to their weak spots. "How do you do that?" she asked. "How do you know where to shoot?" "Practice," Lee said simply. She handed Nari a small device. "This will guide you to the pickup point. Take your family there. More of my team will be waiting." Near the hospital, Dr. Ju faced a different challenge. The building had partly collapsed. Elysian medical workers and patients were trapped inside. The structure could fall at any moment. "We need to go in," she told her team. Private Du looked at the shaking building. "It's not stable, Doc." "There are children in there," Dr. Ju said. She was already putting on a protective helmet. Inside, they found 20 Elysians trapped in a large room. The ceiling was cracked. Dust fell with every small movement. 5 children lay on beds, too hurt to move. "We need to get them out now," Dr. Ju said. The team worked quickly. They made stretchers from broken furniture. They stabilized wounds. They carried those who couldn't walk. As they worked, an Elysian doctor watched them. "Why do you risk your lives for us?" he asked Dr. Ju. "You don't know us." Dr. Ju didn't look up from the child she was treating. "You need help. That's enough reason." By the 3rd hour, the humans had saved over 100 Elysians. The small ships took them away in groups. But the Void Rippers were learning. They began to search more carefully. They set up blockades. Captain Lee and her team were leading a group of 30 Elysians across the central plaza when it happened. Void Rippers appeared from all sides. Hundreds of them, blocking every exit. "Get down," Lee shouted to the Elysians. Her team formed a circle around the civilians, guns out. The Void Rippers advanced slowly. They knew they had the humans trapped. "Team 1, report," Lee said into her comm. Nothing but static came back. "Team 3, more static." "They're jamming our comms," Sergeant Min said. He counted the Void Rippers surrounding them. Too many to fight through. Captain Lee looked at her team. They were good, but not this good. Not against these odds. "We need a distraction," she said. "Something big enough to break their line." Corporal Sun spoke up. "I can do it." She had been quiet most of the mission, focusing on the Void Ripper communication system. "I can send a signal from the big tower that will confuse them. Make them think they're under attack from the other side of the colony." "You'd have to get to the tower first," Captain Lee said. "Through them." She pointed at the mass of Void Rippers. Sun nodded. "I know. It's suicide," Private Kang said. Sun looked at the frightened Elysians behind them. Her eyes stopped on a small child holding its parent's hand. "It's necessary," she said simply. Before Captain Lee could stop her, Sun was running. She fired at the Void Rippers as she went, drawing their attention. Most of them turned to follow her, leaving a thinner line on one side. "Now," Captain Lee shouted. She led her team, and the elisions toward the gap Sun had created. They ran through streets filled with rubble. Behind them, they could hear the Void Rippers realizing their mistake. The aliens made high, angry sounds as they turned to follow. "The command center is just ahead," Sergeant Min said, pointing to a large building that still had lights. They reached it just as the Void Rippers caught up. The team fired back, covering the elisions as they ran inside. Private Du was hit in the leg. Private Kang half-carried him through the door. Inside, they found more elisions, including some military personnel. They had weapons but didn't know how to use them effectively. "Seal all entrances," Captain Lee ordered. "Min, set traps at every door. Kang, find high points for shooting." As they worked, a sound came from Captain Lee's comm. The static cleared, and they heard Sun's voice. "Signal, ready," she said, breathing hard. "On your mark." Captain Lee looked at her team. They nodded. "Do it," she said. Across the colony, from the highest tower, Corporal Sun sent out a signal. It mimicked the Void Ripper's own communication, but with one difference. It told them they were being attacked by their own kind. The effect was immediate. The Void Rippers turned on each other in confusion. Some ran toward imaginary enemies. Others stood still, unable to understand what was happening. In the command center, they watched on security cameras as the aliens fought each other. "It worked," Sergeant Min said softly. Captain Lee tried to reach Sun again. "Sun, report. Can you get back to us?" There was no answer. In the command center, Captain Lee and her team found more than just safety. They found truth. The walls were lined with screens showing the colony, but one room caught Lee's eye. It was sealed behind thick glass. Inside were strange machines and tanks filled with green liquid. "What is that?" she asked the Elysian in charge, Administrator Pak. Pak looked nervous. "Research labs. Nothing important." Lieutenant Song walked closer to the glass. He had studied alien biology for years. He knew what he was seeing. "That's a bioweapon lab," he said quietly. They were making a virus to kill the Void Rippers. The room went silent. Captain Lee turned to Administrator Pak. Her eyes were cold. "You lied to us," she said. "The Void Rippers didn't attack for no reason. They attacked because you were making something to destroy their entire species." Pak's thin shoulders dropped. "Would you have come if we told you the truth?" "That wasn't your choice to make," Lee said. Her voice was hard as stone. "My people are dying out there based on a lie." She thought of Corporal Sun, of Private Du's leg wound, of all the risks they had taken thinking they were saving innocent victims. But then she thought of the Elysian children they had rescued. They hadn't known about the bioweapon. They were truly innocent. Captain Lee made a decision. It wasn't one anyone expected. "I want to talk to the Void Ripper leader," she said. Administrator Pak's eyes went wide. "That's impossible. They don't talk. They kill." "They're intelligent," Lee said. "And they're fighting to survive, just like you. There has to be another way." It took 3 hours to set up. Sergeant Min rigged a translator using parts from Void Ripper weapons they had captured. Private Kang scouted a location halfway between the command center and the largest group of Void Rippers. The meeting place was an old fountain in what had once been a beautiful plaza. Now it was surrounded by broken buildings and burned trees. Captain Lee stood alone. Her team watched from hidden positions, ready to fire if needed. The Void Ripper leader came with 4 guards. It was bigger than the others, with more scars on its shell. It walked on 6 legs, using its front claws for gestures. The giant bug-like alien looked down at the small human. Its mouth parts clicked together. "Your kind fights well," the translator said in a flat voice. "We prefer not to fight at all," Lee replied. "But we protect those who need help." The Void Ripper made a sound like rocks being ground together. The translator called it laughter. "The ones you protect were making our death," it said. "A sickness that would kill only our kind. Is that innocent?" Lee nodded slowly. "I know. I just learned the truth." That ends now. For the next hour, they talked. The Void Ripper leader was smart. It didn't want to destroy the Elysians. It just wanted its people to be safe. Captain Lee offered a deal. The Elysians would stop all bioweapon research forever. They would let the Void Rippers have 3 empty planets nearby as their territory. In return, the Void Rippers would leave this colony and release all prisoners. How do we trust? The Void Ripper asked. Humans will stay to watch both sides, Lee said. We're good at keeping peace, almost as good as we are at war. The Void Ripper's shell rippled in what might have been respect. Agreed, it said. 3 days later, the fighting was over. Void Ripper ships began to leave orbit. Elysian prisoners returned home. Both sides watched each other carefully, but the killing had stopped. Captain Lee's team gathered at their ship. They were going home. Not all of them. Corporal Sun's body had been found in the communication tower. She had completed her mission, but couldn't escape. Private Du would walk again, but not for months. He would stay on the Elysian homeworld for treatment. The others were quiet as they packed their gear. They had won, but the victory felt strange. Did we do the right thing? Private Kang asked. The Elysians lied to us. We did what humans always do, Captain Lee said. We protected those who needed protection. But we also stopped a war that would have killed millions on both sides. When they returned to the Elysian homeworld, they were greeted as heroes. The tall, graceful aliens had prepared a huge celebration. There were speeches and gifts and promises of advanced technology for Earth. Director Kim stood before the human team. You have saved us, she said. How can we ever repay such a debt? Captain Lee looked at her team. They were dirty and tired. They had lost friends, but they had saved thousands of lives. Remember that deadliness isn't just about taking lives, she said. Sometimes it's about how far we'll go to save them. Later, as their ship prepared to return to Earth, Lieutenant Song showed Captain Lee something on his datapad. The galactic database has been updated, he said. Look what it says about humans now. Captain Lee read the screen. She smiled for the first time in days. The entry used to say, humans, deceptively deadly. Now it read, humans, approach with caution, deadly when threatened, deadlier when protecting others. As Earth appeared on their view screen weeks later, Captain Lee thought about everything they had seen and done. Humans had always been good at fighting, good at killing, but that wasn't what made them special. What made them special was knowing when to fight and when to talk, knowing when to be deadly and when to show mercy. The Void Rippers and Elysians would remember that lesson. And in time, perhaps both species would learn what humans had known for a long time. Sometimes the strongest warrior is the one who finds a way to make peace. The end.